You like to see when someone, like, how's the strategy that you like? Is it an email, cold email, here tonight, but like, what's the right cadence, the follow-up? Like, what's the best way to approach you with a startup or a company that needs some funding?
Yeah, I'd say a warm intro is usually the best, and actually an intro from an entrepreneur in our portfolio is usually hands down the best. I think when I think about who I prioritize and how fast I get to emails, it's to my entrepreneurs first, and then it's to the partners in my firm, and then it's to other VCs or other entrepreneurs. And so again, for a fund where your whole job is about supporting entrepreneurs, and especially the entrepreneurs you funded, if you can get to a VC through one of their founders, I think that's probably the best intro. But other than that, any sort of warm intro is helpful. Cold emails, unfortunately, don't work as often as they can, and partly it's just because there's so much volume coming in, and so when you're prioritizing, you just have to. Meeting it in person in events, I think it's a great opportunity to build some rapport and a relationship, and even if you can get your pitch in 20 seconds and share a little bit of it, it's a peek into how you're thinking about it, and that elevator pitch actually is really important.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How about the elevator pitch? I mean, you bring up the elevator pitch. What is there a tip or strategy? I mean, you take in these companies, you invest in them, you obviously try to help them grow. What are some of the growth tips and communication tips that you give them?
Yeah. So the elevator pitch and the in-person pitch, I think the same things apply. What I'm looking for quickly, and I actually was looking at DocSend data, where the average pitch sent to VCs is looked at for about 3 minutes and 44 seconds. So you have about that much time to catch someone's attention. And that includes the ones where people are spending, an hour looking over it because they're thinking about investing. The things that VCs look at the most, according to DocSend, and I can probably vouch for that as well based on my own experience, they're looking at financials if you have them, but at the earliest stages, I think that matters a little bit less. They spend the second most amount of time on the team. And I think this in an elevator pitch is so important. Why are you the right person to be building this company? And why are you credible, right? So have you founded things in the past? Do you understand this problem? Have you already done XYZ with your business? The second is market, right? Oftentimes investors might not know about the market that you're building in, or it's a new market that doesn't exist. So quickly, if you can educate them on why this is a cool opportunity and a big opportunity in 10, 15 seconds, that's important. And then the product, right? What is it that you're actually building, and why is it novel and new, and why now? Oftentimes these businesses, people have thought about them before, right? Or they've tried something before, but is there something that's fundamentally different about the market today or about the ecosystem today that's going to position your company and you to build something big now?
I'm going to focus on the team. You put that as two. And I think there's a lot of founders here looking for co-founders or trying to build their team in this room or watching. The team aspect kind of falls into hiring as well and kind of company culture. What kind of tips would you give someone in your portfolio when building out that team?
Those first hires are so important. Every next hire adds to the culture or detracts from the culture, and so I think it's really important to make sure that you're hiring very, very thoughtfully, but then also willing to fire quickly, right? We've seen a lot of our portfolio companies who make a mistake on the hire, and it ends up being so much more costly to keep that person around because it is detrimental to the culture, it's detrimental to kind of the operations, and then it takes even longer to get the right person in the seat. So starting with the negative part, but on the hiring and getting the right people, depends on what stage of the company you're in, but for those early hires, I would really try to date them, right? Some of my companies, they'll hire them for a contract period as a way to kind of test the relationship and see how they work, and then extend it into a full-time offer with equity and a real stake in the business. Sometimes it's spending time on them with a separate project outside so that you get to know them a little bit better. Founder dating, I think, is a totally different thing as well. That that's your life, right? You're creating your own baby together with your business, and you better make sure that they're the right person to do this with, right? Like, do you have complementary skill sets? How do you think about decision making? How do you have disagreements and get through those? It's like a marriage, right? And I think it's really important and sometimes underplayed or undervalued by founders how thoughtful you need to be, because these are going to be some of the potentially most difficult times that you go through. Like, you're going to be up late nights working on things. Things are going to go wrong, guaranteed, and you need to make sure that you are working with someone that you can get through that with.
Right. We're going to take questions in just a little bit, so just get your questions ready, and we'll pass around the mic, which Jimmy will have. But before we get there, the partnerships and collaboration aspect is what we ask in the show a lot. What are maybe a partnership that's worked? I mean, you obviously mentioned one, but do you have another example of why it's worked, either with your business, another business that you've introduced? But like, how do you look at partnerships in growing the business, and what's successful?
I'll give an example from one of my portfolio companies. I invested in a company called Coterie, which makes elevated party supplies and party goods. So they're kind of taking on Party City, which is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, but realizing that there's a need for beautiful product for kind of the millennial and Gen Z generation who wants to buy online and not go spend an hour in Party City. But they realized, as a small startup, it was hard to get in front of the right people and do so effectively or profitably. So they partnered with Reese Witherspoon's company, Draper James, which is a lifestyle brand more focused on kind of the Southern contemporary woman. And they did a co-branded line with Draper James. And so they have a whole set of party wear and tableware, co-branded Coterie by Draper James. And it sold out. And I think that was a great example of a collaboration where they were leveraging someone with a slightly bigger name than they do,
right.
Reese Witherspoon. And they were also bringing something to the table that Draper James wanted. They had no expertise in how to actually manufacture this type of paper good. They didn't have the time or the resources to do it, but Coterie could bring that to the table. I did a similar thing with one of our portfolio companies called Kuyana, which is a women's apparel and accessories brand. And I introduced them to Marie Kondo, and we did a collaboration. It was a Kuyana by Marie Kondo jewelry case, kind of inspired after bento boxes, so you can store all of your jewelry while you travel. And that sold out in like minutes. And so it's how do you bring together different parties who have hopefully overlapping demographics, because I think that really helps, right? You need to make sure you're actually going after the same customer, but then bring the right resources that each of the other party wants. And once you can do that, a partnership ends up being a lot easier because everybody wants it, it's good for everyone.
Right.
And then on the back end, you structure what it actually looks like economically.
But trying to identify that and then partner together, I like that.